my name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining us tonight to discuss Lyme disease. I'm actually here with Attridge. She's a researcher. I want to briefly let everybody know I had Lyme disease for approximately 7 years. I was very, very sick. I had all the basic Lyme symptoms. I was bedridden for a couple of years out of that. I tried many treatments. I tried hyperthermia, heating my blood up to 108 degrees. I did hyperbaric chamber. I did antibiotics. I really spent an outstanding amount of money on trying to get well and save my life, and I was very desperate at times. And what I want to do is just share how I got into remission and how I'm healthy today. And I think it's really important for me to do that because a lot of times when you have Lyme disease, you just lose hope and you just think that there's nothing out there that's going to help you. And I'm here today to tell you that there is something out there that can help you, and it helped me. My journey actually started like everyone else's. I had a lot of really bad symptoms, going to different doctors. I was not getting any kind of a diagnosis. I knew something was wrong with me, but I didn't know what it was. And in my search for trying to find out what I had, I actually was able to finally get some testing done, and I did the Black Western test, and it came back positive for the Black Western deer tick, and that actually was the beginning of my journey as far as having a diagnosis. And at that time, I was so happy to find out, wow, I finally know what I have. I just need to go to the doctor and get antibiotics, and I can get rid of it. But unfortunately, as you all know, it's not that easy. My journey was just beginning with trying to save my life. And through that, I got a wonderful doctor, a Lyme literate doctor that really helped me out a lot here in San Diego. He saved my life 2 or 3 times, mentally and physically, was there for me. And once I had that, was seeing that doctor, I actually had some hope, and I did some treatment that actually helped me, but it really didn't put me into remission. And shortly after that, I actually met some friends. They're now my friends at QCI Wellness Center, and that was a big shift for me when I met them at Verona and the QCI Healing Center. There was a whole different type of healing that was involved in that. I started taking some CBD, and that actually did help me also. I love CBD. It has a lot of great qualities. And going through the healing center and taking the CBD actually helped me, but didn't put me into remission how I am today. And the reason that I got into remission was actually being there. Being there, I actually met Attridge at that time, and he had a mushroom powder, and I was, you know, kind of hesitant. I wasn't sure if I wanted to try it. I had already spent about $200,000 on Lyme disease. So at that point, I was out of financial resources, kind of tired of trying things because everything that I tried didn't really work. But I decided I really trusted the friends I met at the QCI Healing Center, and they actually thought, you know what, we really think you should give this a shot. And then I met Alan, and I knew it was the right thing to do. He told me about the mushroom powder. Everything made sense to me, and I just felt like I should really try it. And I actually started doing the protocol, and in about 2 weeks, I started feeling extra energy and less pain. And there was also a little bit aching in the first week. I was like, is this Herxing? But it really wasn't, because Herxing is so bad and intense, and it wasn't like that. It was just like a little bit of an achiness, and it went away probably within the first week and a half. Once I got through that point, I felt some really big shifts in how I was feeling. I had extra energy, my pain was less, my twitching was just lessened with the mushroom powder, my appetite started coming back. After about 3 or 4 weeks, I had just a whole different kind of energy. I kind of started feeling like my old self again. My sense of humor was coming back. When I was talking to family and friends, they were like, hey, this is the old Jeanette, what? I haven't seen her for a while. So, you know, it just kind of got better and better, and after 6 months, I can happily say I went into remission, and everything has been really, really good since then. And I want to just thank Ellen for giving me the opportunity to get my life back. And with that, here's Ellen Attridge.
Thank you. And how we met, and I thank the team there, Larry and Denise. And, how this whole thing with certain strains of medicinal mushrooms came about is I was introduced through some scientists that were doing research and found that, this is going back about 11 years ago, that certain strains would support the immune system. But other than that, there's multiple universities and teams doing research as to the mechanism and pathway. Why is it benefit to mammalian chemistry? How this all came about with reference to Lyme is we had a couple, and the couple in Los Angeles had, the wife had brain cancer. And she used the product with other protocols to overcome her cancer. But her sister-in-law had similar health challenges as you, and for over 5 or 6 years. And so she, her brother suggested, why don't you try this? You have nothing to lose. Why don't you try this? So she did, and 6 months later, she was like yourself. So she took about 15, 16 grams a day. And you say, well, that's a lot, but we'll get into that discussion a little later. And so, as you know, physicians will never necessarily say, once you have a disease, you have it forever. And because these gram-negative bacteria can be enlarged someplace else in your body or throughout your body. And now the CDC says, you know, other than the 4, 5, 6 different gram-negative bacteria under the heading of Lyme, they're now seriously looking at all the other gram-negative bacteria. There's over 170 of them that can be transported through animals or through tick or through insects and so forth. So and it's an epidemic, they say. So the problem is antibiotics don't work with most gram-negative bacteria, you know, because the membrane is thicker, as well as there's a lot of other things these gram-negative bacteria can do to protect themselves. And we do have a large slide on that, so you know it's about an 8-hour slide on all the science. But there's acid molecules, polyamino acid molecules that are in the mushroom chemistry that break down the membrane of the gram-negative bacteria. So basically, the bacteria commits suicide; it can't survive. Puts a hole in its membrane. The second thing is it supercharges the immune system. So your immune system has an ability to fight much more aggressively against parasites, organisms, bacteria, and so forth. Also, based on the team in Canada, they said that, you know, taking this product may even remove other chemistry that's being produced by other gram-negative bacteria, so an antibiotic now would work. So you could take the antibiotic with this product at the same time. But I want you to know we already have many studies written up, and these teams are going to pursue these studies in the next 5 to 10 years to actually determine the success or find out the mechanism of the pathway, what molecules are doing what to what.
Excuse me, isn't it true that if you don't get diagnosed with the Lyme disease right when you get bit, within like the first 30 days, the antibiotics don't work?
Well, they may not work otherwise, depending on the gram-negative bacteria. So the CDC and, as you know, there's 3 conferences this year just on Lyme disease alone. So, but they're suggesting that, yeah, you want to do something quick, but the problem is diagnosis.
So we know that, and I know people that are watching from the Lyme groups, they all know that. But when you meet somebody and you talk to them and they think, well, Lyme disease is curable. You just get the antibiotics from your doctor, and that's it. So you can't have Lyme disease. I mean, that's basically not the story here. If you don't, even if you get the antibiotics right when you get big, it's still not for sure that you're going to
right.
cure it.
It shows that and it's complicated. I mean, there's a lot of different things going on. So. And some produce biofilms. We had one patient up in Boston who was basically almost paralyzed for years, and he had some in his veins, and it was biofilm as well. And as soon as he took this product, in like 4 or 5 days, he was out of bed. It took him like 6 months to find another drug actually to kill it. Okay, so. It's all a collaborative, between the physicians and the researchers. It's a collaboration to.
But it's very significant what you said, because the mushroom powder actually causes it to commit suicide. They found 3 acid molecules that do this. Mm-hmm. Now, there's maybe a lot more. As you know, in all fruits and vegetables and herbs and mushrooms, there's thousands of molecules, and we may not decipher them all. But we're lucky that this has come about, and it's all from a collaboration with now over a dozen universities. Yeah, so there's not anything in the world that we know of yet, besides taking the antibiotics in the beginning, that can actually do that.
There's a possibility, but that's the more sharing. Even in China and Tibet and Bhutan and several other places that are using various medicinal mushrooms, there is research being done. And there needs to be more science. Yeah. But the most important thing is, what is the dosage and what should this strain be, or what should the species be, or the strain of a specific species. And not all mushrooms are created equal because of, what was the substrate, the food that grows on, what is the environment that it's growing in, is it clean air, clean water, clean packaging, clean containers. And we find that most of the imports in this country, even if they were clean, they were contaminated because of the packaging. So you have to really be careful. So these products here are grown in clean room spaces that are sterile. Each worker has to wear a hazmat suit, just like a microchip plant. So that's I call this product a miracle, because what we have seen and many others have seen around the globe. So originally this all happened because of transgenic mice and rats being fed one strain at one university, and their tumors would go away. And then it ended up more teams having similar outcomes and then sharing all that information. So that's how we came to the conclusion as to what strains with the right substrate, that's the right food, right environment. In other words, whatever university is doing, we copy what they did, so we don't change anything. And then now we have a formula mixed of the various strains, and that's what this product is that you're consuming or we're using.
The autoimmune blend.
It's called the immune blend.
Right.
So, but it's something you don't have to take forever. I mean, it's the average for someone who has a chronic disease like cancer, maybe only 2 to 3 months. Maybe a maintenance dose after that. But when we have several universities looking at the genetics, there's some wonderful enzymes, wonderful proteins that can prevent certain genetic defects. So that's another team doing that research, so we can kind of articulate all of those for medicine and for healing. Okay, so to prevent disease. That's the other part of this.
So talking about Lyme disease today, one thing I wanted to bring up, a lot of people don't actually have a diagnosis from iGenetics or some of the other specialty labs. And I've actually learned to tell people not to always get caught up on getting that diagnosis. If you have the symptoms from Lyme disease and you think you have Lyme disease, the mushroom powder would be the good protocol to take instead of getting caught up on all that testing.
Yes, this and maybe a few other products that are on the market, natural products or biologics that are on the market, yes. So And as everyone in natural medicine or integrated medicine knows, food is medicine, right? So the food you eat is very important, and a little exercise is important because that produces hormones that help your immune system. And based on studies, it shows that if your immune system is strong, your nervous system is stronger and works more efficiently, as well as all your other systems work more efficiently. So the immune system is the key. And that gets back to when you talk about the food, it talks about the gut, the microbiome. And there's many teams researching that as to the why, what, and how. So, but yes, did that answer your question?
Yes, but just to let you know, it's really hard to exercise when you have Lyme disease. I just want to, I understand that out there.
Well, the thing is, even if you take a 1 pound book and you put it in your left arm and you lift it 15 times, you're producing some hormones that help your immune system.
Oh, okay. I wish I would have known that when I was laying in bed.
Let's get back to the immune system, why it's important. Based on the CDC, if you've read any of the articles on the internet in the past 2 to 3 months from the CDC as well as several teams in Europe, you'll find that they're even saying that all these other gram-negative bacteria, many of them may be the cause of autoimmune disease, or you may be diagnosed as having a certain autoimmune disease, but it may not be, that might be not the cause. So they're lumping it all together. So the best thing to do is have a strong immune system. Such, you know, when it's getting back to, well, you shouldn't eat a lot of cane sugar. You know, cane sugar is in about 80% of the food out there. You know, if they have to, have a natural sweetener, and less processed foods, and organic. So on some of the websites here, which we'll have, you can list on your Facebook, all those different links as to all those organizations that do studies and up-to-date information for them, so they're informed as a resource. But it's from my travels and meeting hospitals, patients, and physicians, you know, with many they can't. What do I have? What, you know, it's.
And it is in groups. I've noticed talking with people, a lot of people will get diagnosed before they even know that they have Lyme, with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, MS, and that is so common. But the point of this that we're talking about right now is the immune blend of powder is the key, because if you have Lyme or any of these diseases, taking that is going to actually get your immune system supercharged.
Yes, and then the rest of your bodies,
and that's the key,
will get you as well. So
and then you've also explained to me in the past, and I kind of wanted you to explain that to everybody. Once your immune system is supercharged, your stem cells can go in and repair the damage. Well,
what it is, as you hear many physicians and researchers will say, with reference to ATP, which is the energy molecule, is also the communication molecule. So we see it supports the proliferation of more ATP, which then is more communication. So there's a more proliferation or command being sent. So your own stem cells are proliferated to heal and repair. So your own stem cells can heal and repair. Now I'll use as an example. We had a patient who was 82 in Boston. She had a hip replacement, and the physician gave her the mushroom product because she had a severe infection and the antibiotics weren't helping. They thought they were going to lose her. So one of the oncologists said, "Why don't you try this product?" They did that for 5 days. I think they gave her about 15 grams a day, and in 5 days she beat the infection. They continued to give her it, and then they redid her operation, and in 40 days her bone was healed, which is remarkable.
Wow.
And the only conclusion is her own stem cell did a supercharged job of repairing the bone. And so we've had this with football players and athletes and decathlon runners and so forth. So there's a much more faster repair. And this is taking me and many other researchers on a journey as to the why, what, and how. It all has to do with the biophysics, and those who know about that would understand that. So there's a lot unknown, but we have a lot of theories, and that's what a lot of these experiments are going to kind of prove, these theories.
And one thing I kind of wanted you to explain, if you don't mind, is the mushroom powder is not like a brand new product that just was developed a year ago. Can you kind of explain when
Well,
it
the
started?
first university was like 49, 48 years ago. The first university started from something they took in the wild. They brought it into the laboratory. This was in Taiwan. And then they gave it different substrates. And they now, if you go to the laboratory, they have over 300 different strains that are new, that they're not in the wild. Why are they not in the wild? Because they use different substrates in a different controlled environment. So the scientists will say, well, they're happier because we give them a clean environment, clean water, clean air, clean everything. They're very happy. They're not competing with the other yeast for the food or other bacteria or viruses for the food because it's so sterile, because they want to have a controlled environment. So they're happier. Well, the other part of it is the concluded discussion is, well, if they're happier, maybe that's why you have better chemistry. You know, why does that work better than something if I got it in the wild, okay?
Yes.
So, and a lot of teams are making those comparisons. But that was one that led to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 other universities that were doing similar things, not before they actually all met one another, okay?
Okay.
So that's what makes it all unique.
My next question I have that I'd like you to go over is the different strains that are actually in the mushroom powder, because a lot of patients ask me, well, what mushrooms are in there? Because I've already taken mushrooms. There's so many different mushrooms that you can get at, you know, different health food stores. What is different about the mushrooms, and what makes it the miracle?
Well, I'll use a generic species. So the hybrid came from a generic species. Now, scientists say we really shouldn't call it a hybrid, because even if I was growing green beans, and when I give it new food or new environment, it's not going to be exactly the same as the prior new green beans, even though I'm using the same seed. But actually, from a layman's point of view, you use the word hybrid, so you know it is different. And they are different, okay? And we're talking some universities, 20, 30 years, some 40, almost 50 years now. I'll use a generic strain. One is Agaricus blazei, okay? You've all heard of Agaricus blazei, if not. Cordyceps, 2 different strains, one from Asia, okay? That was brought here, okay? And reishi, okay?
That's
and
very
turkey
common.
tail. Right. And of those species I just mentioned, there's 2 cordyceps, there's 3 turkey tail, and there's 2 reishi. So so they're not all the same, just to let you know. Okay. And each one takes a different period of time to grow. So we have to wait till they're all grown before we have a batch, okay, and then we blend it together after we dehydrate it. And we do not freeze dry. We air dry everything. So that should give enough for the audience to see. Now, in further discussions here, further links of information that we'll share with everyone, you'll be able to do further research or to read for yourselves and compare and learn from that. I'll just, adding to the gram-negative bacteria situation, we find that with any infection, which includes the mouth, if you're going to have a root canal or if you have an open wound, you can take a antibiotic cream or just a cream or an aloe and add the mushroom powder in there and just put it on there and put a bandage on there. It's going to heal much more quicker.
I actually put some on my tooth one time when you told me that for about 2 weeks, and it worked.
Right, so if you're going to have a root canal, you can say, well, I'll take a teaspoon of it and put it in my mouth for 15 to 20 minutes, then swallow it. I'll do it twice a day. In a week or 2, my abscess is gone. Why? Because the molecular structure of a lot of the mushroom chemistry is so small that it penetrates the gum and it gets right into the abscess. And again, those acid molecules and other things are killing. Or we can't use the word kill, but that goes away basically. So that's another whole approach that. And it's high in fiber. It's great for the gut. if somebody is very toxic, let's say they're toxic because of the environment, because of drugs, or because of just they haven't taken care of themselves, you possibly could side effect. This is like less than 3% of the people may have diarrhea for 2 or 3 days, or they may feel like they're going to vomit. But so we say then gradually increase the dosage and then level it off. And everyone's different. What will work for you may be different for someone else. So we actually have had an observation of a dosage chart, which is close to 3,000 patients. So that dosage chart kind of gives you the average. Also, with reference to Ayurvedic medicine, if everyone knows what that is, certain herbs, certain vegetables, certain fruits, in combination, can provide more with less in a benefit to your chemistry, to our chemistry. So in other words, if you take this mushroom product and you consume it with a green vegetable, or let's say a carbohydrate like a sweet potato, you can find the long-chain sugar molecules that are in the green vegetables, okay, or the lettuce, seems to bind clearly with a lot of the carbohydrates in the mushroom molecules. So you get more with less. So in other words, when we had anecdotally cancer patients using 16, 15 grams, we're able to reduce it by half if we actually add it to their salad dressing or put it in a soup with vegetables every day.
Like kale and broccoli. And
yes.
like that.
And as you know, is still alive. A lot of the product is still alive. So actually, if you make something, you can see it grow.
Yeah, if you leave
and you
your
can leave it in the
smoothie on
refrigerator for 1 day. Do not freeze it, because some of us, we find that some of it may die in the freezer. So do not freeze, just keep it in the refrigerator. Or if you want to keep it out, you can. So it's actually using the other ingredients you have, if it's a smoothie or something else, as its own food, actually. So you get less with more.
Okay, I have a question that I've been asked quite a few times, and I know we've actually talked about this, is I have people that say, I don't do very well with mushrooms. Sometimes I'll have like a reaction to them, you know, what if I get an allergic reaction? Is this going to set off some gut issues because it's a fungi? What is your answer for that?
That's a good question. Well, you might hear, your physician may even say, if you're going to buy mushrooms at the store, you should probably boil or saute or cook it well, because you might get candida. Now the reason for that is, like Monterey mushrooms, when they grow their mushrooms in those caves or in those houses, it's not in a clean room. They really keep things as clean as they can do, but I can say that the air, other molds and other yeast fall on those, on the top of the fruit body of the mushroom, okay? And that's sitting there, even when it goes to the supermarket, sitting there. So yes, you could get candida from that. Yes, possibly, okay? But this product, that doesn't happen because it's totally clean and sterile. So the mycelium in any fruit body, it's not exposed at all to the open air.
Oh, okay.
There's no contamination whatsoever. So there's no chance of having those yeast or other bacteria or fungus there present. Okay? This product in its own self will not cause you to have a fungus infection or to have a candida or whatever. Another question that comes up is some say, well, if I'm allergic to penicillin or a certain antibiotic, I'm allergic to this. Right now, 100% worldwide who have allergic reaction to penicillin or other antibiotics will not have a reaction to this so far, and that's including pregnant women. There's no toxicity at all. We have that's all third-party analyzed by independent labs. So it's safe. So I think that I'm just trying to high-level this rather than go into a lot of detail. And on the site or where you are, you can have 5 or 6 different papers that summarize. We're putting together over 250 bibliography representing over 5,000 pages of science that's most up to date worldwide. And that will then
that will be great.
Pretty much eliminate from any objection or any, it's convincing enough. It'll articulate the science convincing enough so you or even your physician should consider this as a protocol, as maybe an adjunctive treatment or treatment, but we can't use the word treatment, a food to eat, basically.
Okay, can you walk through for all of us that have Lyme disease, the protocol that is recommended with the mushroom powder for Lyme disease? How much you would take, how long you would take it?
Well, on the dosage observation, I mean, it's going close to 30 patients who've had Lyme, not like thousands who've had cancer. We suggested as a trial initially was to use about 16 grams a day, plus or minus, at least 5 out of 7 days a week. Added to your food. So you have half of that in the morning. It's like 4 teaspoons in the morning, 4 teaspoons in the afternoon. So out of all that, then you have, that's what they've used to have success so far. Some less than that, but I'm just kind of,
for me.
Yeah. So, so that's the suggestion, and there's a lot of other science that several other teams, other universities share with us that we're investigating as to, you know, some of the other reasons you're having success, or others are having success. It may not just be those 3 acid molecules. It could be a combination of other things, not relation even to your not even in relation to your immune system. Okay. Okay.
So I just want to let everybody at home know that I actually am going to be having a web page that's going to be coming up soon, and we'll be talking a lot about Lyme disease, the mushroom powder. We're going to just try and go over everything about Lyme disease and try and go over the mushrooms, any protocols, any questions. There's going to be events on there. You'll also be able to order the powder with links on that web page, and that's going to be ready soon. Right now, you can just contact me if you would like to order the mushroom powder, and we're also going to have a brief slideshow of information that Alan has that he'd like to share with everybody.
Yeah, so we'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll set that up. So in a few minutes, and then you can come back and you'll actually see the slides. So you can, it'll be there to go back to, okay, with a lot of other links and resources.
Stay tuned, everybody. Thank you for watching.